Guys, welcome back to Spanker Ranch Garage. Christmas is coming, and that means the project gift ideas are kicking off. So for this one, we're starting off with a 12-inch long chunk of railroad track. If you know my girlfriend, Miss Spanky, she is a jewelry maker on the side, and some of the work she does requires her to like hand forge and hammer silver, brass, things like that. She's been doing it on a wooden workbench, and while it works, there's a lot of bouncing around, there's tools flying everywhere. You know, the chisel wants to rebound back off the material. She really needs a solid anvil to beat on. So I think it would be cool to make her something out of a piece of old railroad track. This particular piece, it's even date coded 1923, which is kind of cool. This is literally a 100-year-old piece of American steel. Now, I'm not looking forward to this because it's just going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a pain to cut and shape this. The actual machining parts, I got no problem, not worried about that at all. Set the Bridgeport up, let her run, but the rest of the shaping, the cutting, there's going to be a lot of grinding wheel, torching, plasma cutting, trying to make something out of this. Now, the guy I bought this from did a nice job of wire brushing it, cleaning most of the rust off. So you can see here, obviously, there's a lot of pitting. This is a 100-year-old piece of rail. Who knows how long it was in service for? It really doesn't look too worn up top here. So maybe it was in service for a very short amount of time, and then it was taken out, scrapped, whatever. All right, so that's actually cutting pretty good. That's gonna save me a lot of time if I can get this hogged out with the torch as opposed to coming in here using abrasives or something else, so that's exciting. And I already made a huge mistake. I wanted to keep the 1923 date code because I thought it was cool. So in my head I was thinking, all right, I'll just cut out this side here. That way, we'll leave this whole back end intact. You'll have your horn up front here and still have this cool date code. And of course, I started cutting it on the back side. Like a total idiot. That's gonna get filled with weld and ground smooth again. Because I'm not cutting out that super cool date code. I have to do it from this side. So that sucks, we're off to a horrible start here. Let's keep it rolling. Well, now I'm out of oxygen. So this project's on hold for today. We'll circle back when I get more oxygen. Well, it's 8 days later, and I finally have an oxygen bottle that's full. A little bit of drama at the local welding place. Definitely butthurt, but it is what it is. We gotta get rolling on this. There's no beer in here. All right, so that was the goal there, to rough out the horn side of this anvil without having to grind and cut all of this abrasively. I figured I'd hog it out with the torch. Now I gotta come in with the angle grinder and make something of this. I don't know about that. I feel like anvils have more, they're more pointed even. We got so much area up here to hammer on. We're only making small jewelry. I think I could probably stretch this out. right, so with a lot of grinding, we have a basic shape here of the front side of an anvil. Now at this point, I need to repair this accident that I made here where I started cutting on the side I didn't want to cut on like a total idiot. So I need to grind that out, weld that up, and grind it again. Try to make it look like that never happened. But then we're gonna get this thing over onto the mill, because if you look at this rear profile here, you've got this lip here, this lip here. This is a little more rolled over depending on what side this track was on and how many trains came across it, yada, yada, yada. The metal's a little displaced. So we're gonna put this on the milling machine and we're gonna mill these sides totally flat. And then I'll have a true center line of the rail to actually line the point up with, do some final grinding on that. Then we'll do some fly cutting on the top of this to make it nice and smooth, plus a couple other tricks. Let's get to the part where we do some machining here. Actually have a little fun with this as opposed to just destroying my lungs and throwing debris all over the shop. All right, so first thing I want to do here is knock off these edges. These edges are partially natural, but also as rails wear, the metal actually displaces out the side. If you look at rail with a lot of miles on it or a lot of wheels have passed, you'll actually see splintering on the side here where that metal is just being, you know, pressed out over millions and millions and millions of pressure cycles with all those train wheels running over them. So what I'm going to do is we're going to wipe down the side here and just mill these true, and then I'll have a true center point to go on for finishing the tip shaping here. So next step, now that we've got these sides squared up nice, is the top of a railroad track is rounded. Sorry about that glare. What is that? Oh, the top of the track is rounded. So we use this insert cutter to hog that down flat. We'll come back with the big fly cutter, give that a nice pass. Actually cleaned out really nice with that insert cutter. I'd like a smoother surface finish because if she's hammering silver here, it's going to pick up those tooling marks. So I want this thing to be like as mirror polished as possible. But I can do that with a block and sandpaper later. I need to take more cuts because you can tell we still have rust here. So I need to come down another probably 100 thousandths, clean that up. Alright, so coming in with a 5 thou finish cut with the big flywheel. You can see those sparks. I think these rails probably work hardened over time, as you'd expect. I mean, you've got all them wheels slowly deforming everything over and over and over again. I think these rails get pretty damn hard on top, so it's actually probably a pretty good surface for an anvil. Hopefully we get through this before my cutter takes a doozer. I may actually want to slow this down. Let's drop my feed a smidge, and let's come down to like 600 RPMs. We'll just have to let it play through, we'll see. I'm feeding it super, super, super slow because I want the most mirror finish I can get out of this, so I don't know, I kind of like her at 700. 750 sounds good. We got away with it, boys. This is buttery smooth here. We did actually chip the carbide, but not until the very tip. And you can see that line there, that's where she chipped. And there is a visual, or I can feel the surface finish difference here along this line, if you could see that as well. So that's not ideal, but that part is getting ground and rounded, right? This is gonna be a varying radius across this. So it's gonna be pretty tight here, and then the radius is going to increase up to where this is flat and square. And that way, when you wanna hammer things, you've got a flat surface for it, and then you've got a way to bend metal around this. If you want to bend it around a variable radius, you'll have this variable radius here. So this is really coming together. I got some serious deburring to do. This will cut your arm off. But I'll get this thing cleaned up and we'll take a look at it in the light, but it is looking really nice. Feels really, really, really good. Got it all deburred, it's all safe to handle now. Pretty good looking unit here. So you can see I've got some issues here on the point. It's a little bit off to one side, so that needs some touch up. But before we get into that, now that we've got this side square to this side and to this side, I want to flip this thing into the vise and surface the bottom of it off, just so we know that everything is square, true, and parallel. I'm gonna leave the buggered up carbide in there because we're not really looking for that show car shine here. And secondly, you've got a lot of rust and scale on this, so might as well let that one eat it up. God damn, taking 30 thou off of this already, and we're still low over here in this rusty spot. So I'm gonna take another 15, just call it there. This is getting screwed to a wooden workbench, so we're not looking for a precision fit here, just wanted something that looks nice. But it's taking a little more time than I hoped. All right. All right, let's not hate on this fixture here. It actually works, and it was quicker than, you know, pulling the head forward and over and hanging this thing off the back of the table or whatever I needed to do there. We just got to take light cuts. This is not a fixture job to be proud of, but it's squared up. Let's make a test pass. Smooth surface finish on this. Got plenty of deburring to do where this edge rolled over. I can do that later. You see I even got some weld to grind here. You can see in the reflection, there's my weld root that we covered up there. You're always gonna have that. Bummer, this will never be perfect. right, guys, I think I got this to a point where I'm gonna leave it. I'm happy with it. We've got a nice symmetrical point on the top here. Got it radius the way I'd like it. I ended up going up to 800 grit with the DA on the top of this thing. Let's degrease this thing a little bit for safe handling. It's funny, I just dropped this thing and created this cosmetic scuff right here. You can't feel it. You can't feel it with your finger or your fingernail, but there is that visual scuff. So I'm gonna have to resand this before I package it up. But anyway, this is what I was envisioning in my head as what I would want as a jeweler's anvil if I was a jeweler. Now, I have no idea if this is even useful in the jewelering process or whatever. So I will give this to Mrs. Spanky as a gift. I think even if it's not useful for the manufacturing of jewelry, this seems to be just a cool thing to have. Like, I want to have this on my shelf. A 1923 rail. I bought it from a guy in Texas, so maybe this is Texas rail, but either way, it's American Railroad. That means a lot to me. It's very cool looking. You know, this is just like a nice item to have. I want this right on the kitchen counter. You know, this is a nice conversation piece. What is this 25-pound chunk of crap on your counter? Well, this is a 1923 train track that has been turned into some type of something that was never intended to be. So it's cool because, you know, this is American rail that we machined on an American Bridgeport here in America. If you guys are looking to buy a piece of rail to make into an anvil or anything like that, be careful and budget your time appropriately. This was not a trivial task. This probably took, all in all, 6 or 7 hours. It also makes a mess of your garage or the space that you're gonna be making it in. So cutting train track, let me find a piece here. So cutting full gauge, like freight train track is no joke, right? Some of these sections are 1 inch thick, so you're really hogging through some steel here. If you're gonna do this all with a grinder, you are gonna go through so many cutting wheels and you are just gonna be throwing crap everywhere. Where's the other pieces at? You know, here's where I had to trim the top here. It's about 1 inch thick at the end. That's just a heavy chunk of steel to be cutting. So be prepared that there is some real fabrication to this job. It's not just an artsy-fartsy craft thing that you're gonna, you know, bang out with your angle grinder and a file on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm sure you could, if your time means nothing, you could do this with an angle grinder and a file. Now for me, knowing what I've seen with her jewelry work and how impressionable these soft metals are, I knew that I had to have a really, really good surface finish on the top side here, because everything in the surface of the anvil will end up in the surface of the jewelry. So not only did I take a super slow cut with my 22-pound fly cutter on this, then I started with 400 grit, 600 grit, ended with 800 grit wet on the top of this. It feels amazing. It feels like a mirror. I can still see sand marks in it. They may come through into the jewelry, so I may have to revisit this and go all the way up to 2000 grit and literally polish this like chrome, but hopefully not. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap this one up here. This thing is ready to get boxed up, wrapped, and thrown under the Christmas tree, and we will open it in 2 days, unfortunately. Wanted to start this weeks before Christmas, and here we are 2 days before Christmas, wrapping it up, but that's just how it works here at the Spank Ranch Garage. So anyway, I hope you liked this episode. This is a little different for me. This is not buggy cars, dozers, engines, and none of that kind of crap, but it's still kind of related because it is machining, fabricating, welding, whatever. So let me know what you think about this in the comments. If you're gonna make an anvil, if you're gonna make a railroad track anvil for somebody, make sure that's a good idea before you go and do it, because it is a total pain in the butt. Anyway, thanks for watching Spank Ranch Garage. I'll see you next time.